What's up, YouTube? Got Tyler the TIE Fighter Beistel here with his top 4 deck list for Yeti Gaming's first ever Championship Series tournament. They were playing for a Dvorak, King of Heavy Industry, and he walked away with the top 4, obviously. What did you play, Tyler?
I played Dark World.
Alright, well, how about that deck profile?
Okay, here we go. Start out with 3 snow. Main card of the deck outside Grapha, but this card lets you search anything. It's pretty much your toolbox. You play 2 Tour Guide. I only play 2 because I think 2 is better. It lets them use hand traps, which you want to keep them away from as much as possible because you don't want them to plus off of Maxi because then your drag down plays become a little worse. Plus, I think 2 is better because you're not necessarily going to want to. Brows aren't necessarily going to be in your deck for all that long. And then, of course, Brow, you play him, extra draw. That's pretty much a given. 2 Silva. I play 2 Silva over 2 Beige because I play both the viruses main boarded, which he's a deck heavy target and he's a Eradicator target if you have gates on the field. I play 3 Grapha, you have to. Main card of the deck. And then, of course, the 1 Beige, and that is it for my monsters. For spells, I play 3 Upstart. Giving them 3,000 life points is not that big of a problem because Grapha swings for 3,000. But I do think 3 is better because you can deck them, not necessarily in all decks, but I think in here it is definitely a better option. Then, what I think is the best spell in the deck, and I'm sure what everyone does not like to see, is Drag Down. Just gonna pick their hand apart, and then discard your guys to get their effects, and you get to see what they're playing, along with, it combos with Mind Crush, which I do mainboard too. 1 Gateway, this was the difference in my deck. I pretty much net decked this outside of this card. It was a Mystical Space Typhoon in another build, and I like this because it allows you to set it. You can set it, activate during their turn, and then bounce back for Grapha during your turn. And then it also allows for, if they Dark Hole, it allows for like a safety net, I would say, something like that. But it is definitely a good card, and I recommend trying it at least, because most of the time I think that card is overlooked. Then, of course, 3 Gates. It's really good. You have to play 3. There's no reason not to. 3 Dealings, same reason. Have to play those. 1 Foolish. I play Foolish to bury Grapha. It's pretty standard. And then I play the 1 Allure. I used to not play this card because sometimes banishing from your hand and you're only going to have like Grapha or something in your hand is not the best option. But it definitely worked out well, at least for me. But I do recommend playing this. It was never a bad card to have whenever I played it throughout the day. So that's it for the spells. And then the trap lineup. I play 2 Mind Crush. Just get stuff out of your opponent's hand. And it is really good main board because a lot of decks search now, and then with Drag Down, you get to see it anyway. And also you're main boarding, or I main board the 2 viruses, so that is also good. I play 1 Compulse. I thought about playing Solemn Warning, but I think Compulse is a little better in this situation because paying 2,000 life points is not always going to be available in this deck. But Compulse is probably my favorite trap anyway, so that is also a reason. 2 Dark Smogs. This is definitely different. I never mainboarded these until this tournament, and now I would always mainboard them because this card is probably, I would say, probably the best trap card in this deck outside of Eradicator. But this card allows you to do so much during your opponent's turn. Discard Graph to blow up their stuff during their turn and really stop their plays. And stop them from pushing. You can discard the special summon like the Silva or something else you have in your hand, or discard Snow to deck thin. It's definitely a really good card. I played 3 Reckless Greeds. This was never bad for me because you have so much deck thin. You can usually get into 2 of these, but it is definitely good. There was a couple games where I went through all 3 like back to back to back, which is really good because you only skip the 2 draw phases, and plus getting that many cards is just, you win at that point in time. I mainboarded the 2 deck heavy. This was one that I normally sided out depending on what they were playing. There was a couple times where I used it against like Fire Fist or Fire King where I would just like want to see their hand because I had Mind Crush, and I'd really like to see like what they were drawing so I could play around it and everything. But I did like this card mainboarded. If you get it against Gearsha, you pretty much win. I would hope so anyways because everything is under 15 or 15 or under. And then of course 1 Eradicator, you're only allowed 1. Really good. And this is the best trap in the deck. You have to play this card because there are tons of back row. It pretty much acts like your Heavy Storm. But that is it for the main board. Okay, now for the extra deck. Play one Zombie-Stein. Definitely good. You can make it. I mean, it's 4,500 beat stick. You have to play it. And you have to play Heliopolis too. And of course, Felgrand. Because Felgrand is really good. You can just use your Graphas and then reuse them. It makes it where they can't like dark hole it or something like that. And it allows you to like stop a Black Rose play if they had it. And everything. But yeah, Felgrand is really good. And then I play one Gaia Charger. The reason I play Gaia Charger is because I played an Adrius. I wanted to play Volcasaurus, but I didn't think I had one, but I found it laying in my floor after the tournament, so I was like, okay, but this gets around Goza Match too. I don't think someone would board Goza Match against you, but I actually think Goza Match is good against this deck because it allows you not to be able to go through your extra deck like for Levier or something like that. But Adrius is definitely good. I only made these two out of these 5. I only made the Felgrand and Heliopolis, but these have to be there. I never made any of these either, but you have to play the Master Key Beetle, can protect gates. It's a dark, so it's Eradicator and deck W target. And then I did play Black Ship because it is good against like Zen mains. Then I played the Diamond Dyer. It can get rid of Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, which I guess isn't a problem because you can still like bounce back for Graph and get Graph out. But you have to play this like Soul Drain, gets rid of Soul Drain, gets rid of Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, anything that is stopping you. Of course, the Maestroke, but I mean, it gets around Evil Swarm Ophion if that is a problem, but you can really just discard a Grapha to get around him. But this is also a good card to have just to like prevent or like special summon it so it can't get Dark Hold or like Bottomless or something like that. Make some waste cards. Of course, everyone's favorite, my favorite card to play, my favorite card to beat people with is Gaga Cat Cowboy. Any opportunity I get, I always play this, but I really like Gaga Cowboy. It allows for some plays to be there if you're going for game, but I just really like Gaga Cowboy. And then Acid Golem, because of Tour Guide, and Brow, you have to play the 3s, and he's one of the best ones. Leviathan lets you get a guy in your grave detached so you can use gates. He has to be there, and really the only card that I used throughout the day was Levier. Just get the card back from gates to abuse Grapha to bounce it back to your hand. Just Levier is the MVP in the extra deck, I would say, and I think that is the best one in here. And then, of course, Alucard blows up their sets, and he is just really good to have. And then, of course, Zen Mains allows for a safe play, which sometimes you're going to need, but sometimes you're not. If you don't open up too strong, you're going to need the Zen Mains. So that is it for my extra deck. And for my sideboard, I really wasn't planning on like sideboarding too much because I was like the only Dark World player down there, so a lot of people didn't have like a whole bunch of sideboard for it. But this is what I played. 2 Max C for the special summoning, just really good. My favorite card is Lightning Vortex. I know you don't get the Dark World's effects off of it, but it's good to get useless cards out of your hand like Pitch Graph and bring it back, blow up their whole field, blow up their monster, face up monsters. Dark Hole, because against like Gears, it's good to blow up their armor. 3 MSTs because of Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, Soul Drain. All the cards that stop you, definitely those came in quite a bit. 1 Bottomless, just because I like playing the staple traps in my extra deck along with the 2 Mirror Force. Same for the Torrential, same for the Solemn Warning, and same for the 2 Fiendish Chains. Those came in if there was a dead card in there that I had to get out. And probably the MVP of my side deck, Skill Drain. It did win me a couple games. I would have put this up to 3. Probably at least 2, possibly 3, because it is a really good card. Stops Fire Fist, stops those matchups, stops Abyss Dweller. But I think it is really good to have Skill Drain, and I think it's probably one of the best cards I have this format, in my opinion.
Awesome. So what were your losses of the day?
My losses were to I had 1 loss in Swiss, and that was to Girja. And then I also lost to the same person in top 4, and you can actually see that match on Twitch at Yeti Gaming Live. You can see me lose, but it was definitely a good match. I mean, good friends rode down there together and everything. And then he drilled really well, and he went first. But you can definitely check out that match at YetiGamingLive.com.
Awesome. About how many people do you think were there?
I think the total was 91.
Oh,
it
awesome.
was the last number that I heard, but yeah, so definitely smaller than a regional, but it was pretty competitive there. I I mean, I hate to say it, but I really didn't have like any problems outside of the Gears matchup, to be honest with you. But
All right, anything else to say to the crowd?
not that I know of.
All right, YouTube, here you have it, the top 4 profile for Tyler the TIE Fighter Beistel. And we'll definitely have more videos. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And that's all for now. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.